Hey guys, what's up? Ruben here from the Midnight Garage. We are going to talk about my Honda today, and as weird as that sounds, this might sound, it's still grammatically correct because this is a JA4 Honda Today. Now, this is like one of those weird little cars from Japan. It's a K car and it's pretty funky and it is pretty rare. How rare exactly? Well, here in the Netherlands there's only one registered to be road legal, and that's this one. So even though you can find Skyline Supras pretty much on every street corner here nowadays, the JA4 Honda Today, still pretty rare. Now, I would love to tell you that I've spent years trying to find one and finally I found the perfect example, but no, that's not correct. I kind of saw it for sale somewhere and I was like, a Honda Today. I've never owned that car before, bye. So that's what I did, and as you guys all know, if you purchase a car on the internet, it usually doesn't look as good as you can expect beforehand. So I've purchased this car in late October last year, and I've spent the last few months trying to restore it. Now, even though there was a lot of things that I had to do exterior-wise, let's start with the interior. Now, interior-wise, I think it's a pretty cool car. It has room for 4 people, but if you sit in the back like I do right now, it's best to leave your legs at home since you don't really have that much leg room, but that's okay. This is a really small car, so it was to be expected. Now, it does have a few cool features which I really want to show you guys right now. The exterior color comes back in the upholstery of the rear seat. So as you can see, the rear seat are partially body color. And if we check out the front seat as well, both here and here. And then when we look at the dashboard, you can see that a large section of the dashboard is body color as well. And it also has like this really weird freaky fabric, which I really like. It's also kind of luxurious because it has power windows. And not only that, if you look at the mirror, you can see that it's power adjustable as well, which is pretty nice. You also can't miss that this car has power steering because it's written quite clearly here on the steering wheel. Another cool feature is this Honda Access electronic toll card reader with a lovely Japanese voice. It also has air conditioning. Another interesting feature is when you open the passenger side sun visor, you will see that there is no vanity mirror. But if you open the driver's side sun visor, you will see that there is. Now, the reason why is because this car was mainly marketed to single young women in their 20s that live in the city. And one thing that was really funny in my eyes is that the dashboard cover opens up, and according to the official media that was released with the car, this was supposed to be a place where you could put your makeup on and then open your mirror and then start doing your makeup, which is, you know, perfect for a guy like me. And if we look even closer inside the glove compartment, you can see that there's a special location which is preserved for its original maintenance booklet. If we open this little booklet, we're gonna find the original Honda documents that came with the car when the car was originally sold. And now obviously it has a lot of random Japanese in it. It also has some cool stuff in it, like for example some stuff about the Primo, Verno and Clio dealers. But most importantly, it has the documentation of the original owner. And now I'm not going to show you guys that because privacy reasons and stuff. But I did find out that the car was originally from Nabari, which is a small village southeast of Osaka. And if the car is from near Osaka, I always think that's pretty cool, especially if you're a Honda guy like me. Now, that might be really cool, but I also found something slightly less cool. And that's this. This is a nice damage report from Japan. And as you can see, the car had some minor damage. And yeah, more on that later, but it was one of those things I found out when I bought the car that made me slightly less happy. You might also notice that when you look at the car from straight ahead, the driver's side seat is a lot bigger than the passenger side seat. Now, that's for one reason and one reason only. This car was mainly used for commuting and mainly used by single women who were driving in this car alone. So If you're sitting in the car alone, why not make the driver's side seat a little bit bigger so that even though the car is as tiny as it is, it's at least comfortable for the driver. Now, you've probably noticed already that this car is pretty luxurious for Honda standards, but there's one thing that's really missing in my eyes, and that's a set of cup holders. Let me show you. So I went online and I found this, which is an original Honda Access set of cup holders. It's taken from the four-wheel drive model, and I'm going to install this right now. Oh yeah, look how many cups it can hold. Now, there was an optional armrest as well, which would go here, and the lid could fold all the way back, so that the bottom side of the lid would be two cup holders for the rear passengers. But for me, I couldn't really be bothered, and this set of cup holders was good enough. Also, I swapped out the thermostat. Here we have the old one, and here we have the new one. The new one is actually from a Honda Civic, but it seems to fit. I put the old rubber on there just in case. And yeah, it's a horrible job to get to. I'll show you. So here we have the AC compressor, and the thermostat is behind the AC compressor. And at first I thought I'll just remove the AC compressor, but as you can see, some of them have some nuts on instead of bolts. So I would need to remove everything and disable the AC system just to remove the thermostat. So I took the difficult route and just removed the bolt. Now, you might be wondering why I've suddenly turned into a pirate, and let me tell you. While I was working on the thermostat, I was removing the bolts from the thermostat housing, and one of those bolts came into my eye and fell out right away. So it was really anticlimactic. It was like tick, tick. And yeah, at first I was like, did that thing just came into my eye? And I didn't really think much of it, but as the day passed, it started hurting more and more, and at a point the pain was just unbearable. And yeah, so I went to the doctor, and it turns out that I do in fact have an abrasion in my eye, and I need to put ointment on there every single day, twice a day. And oh boy, it really hurts a lot. And I'm very unhappy about this. All the light that's coming in now kind of hurts, even with the eye patch, which has the nice Midnight Garage logo on it, so at least I could customize it a little bit. But yeah, moral of the story, guys, always wear safety equipment, always wear safety goggles, especially when working underneath the car. Just saying, or you might like looking like a pirate. That's up to you. While I'm recovering, let's talk a bit about the engine. The engine is an A07A engine. It's 656 cc, and it's very similar to a Honda Beat. The main difference is that this intake has a single throttle body, whereas the Honda Beat has ITBs. And I just so happen to have imported a set of M-Track ITBs from Japan. So who knows, I might install these later on. But first up, I think it's important that I will focus on some maintenance. So let's start up with changing the spark plugs. That's always important. And swapping out some oil. I'm using some Motul Access 8100 5W40 oil and a hemp oil filter, because as you guys all know, the hemp oil filters are slightly better. And other than that, the only modification I've done so far is a C-Tech connector, so that I can keep the battery fresh while sparked up. Now I want to have something else other than these 12-inch wheels, because these 12-inch wheels kind of work as wheels, but they look kind of boring on this Honda Today. So luckily I contacted Michael, and he still had my old Toyota Sierra 14-inch wheels, which are a little bit bigger than the 12-inch wheels that were on the car originally. But they were kind of, well, messy and dirty and stuff. So after a little bit of paint, they look like this. I think these will look great on the Today, but I still need some smaller tires, because yeah, these are really small. Here we have the wheels with the new tires, and it will look something like this once it's installed. But if you look closely, you will notice that there's like a massive wheel gap, and I do not like that. So I went on the internet and I found this. Some RSR good road holding suspension, specially made for the JA4 Today, which is great. Now you might think like it would be really hard to find performance parts for the Today, but allow me to go off a tangent real quick. As it turns out, the JA4 Honda Today is actually a pretty common car to use for racing in Japan. Not only that, but in the K-car classes like the K4 GP, it is actually a pretty serious contender. You would think that something like the Suzuki Cappuccino or the Honda Beat would top the charts, but as it turns out, the humble JA4 Honda Today usually wins. Why? No idea. But because of this, a lot of Japanese manufacturers started making performance parts for this car. So it's actually pretty easy to find parts like turbo kits, coilovers, roll cages and strut bases for this car. Honestly, I did not expect to find something like this, but it really made my day. Just a random thing I noticed, when you lower your car you want to have some extended top hats, but the Honda Today already has it from factory. I thought that was pretty cool. Now I just need to put it all back, and then we can see how it looks. Moment of truth, let's see how it looks. Oh yeah, that's a lot better. Now I think it would look even better with some coilovers, but that would add another 1,000 on the budget, and this is good enough for me. One thing that's really bothering me is that when I have my lights turned on and I have my car turned off and I open the door to go outside, there's no beep that indicates to me that my lights are still on. And it already happened a few times that I forgot to turn the lights off. So I got an aftermarket light indicator, which I'm going to install right now. Installation is pretty easy. Connect one wire to the headlight beam, then hide the buzzer behind the dashboard, and then connect the other wire to one of the door switches so that it works when the doors open. So let's test it out. The car's turned off, the headlights are turned on. Let's open the door. That works. Since this car is already pretty luxurious by my standards, I wanted to add a little bit more. And one thing that I really miss in this car is central door locking. Now, the car doesn't have any central door locking, but fortunately, I bought my own kit and I'm going to install it right now. Well, lucky me, it already has an engine in it. So that means that I don't really have to do that much, and it makes it a whole lot easier for me. That works. Now the next thing that I want to do is install some yellow headlights, because I think the car is very French, and some yellow headlights and some yellow city lights will probably look pretty cool. Since the exhaust that came with the car was made from several random pieces and held together with gun gum and iron wire, I figured it would be easier to replace everything all together. With the rear wheel so far back and the car being lowered, I could not fit a regular muffler though, so I had the brilliant idea to go to MK Fab and tell them to use 2 high-flow silencers instead. Surely that will make the car as silent as a regular muffler, right? Well, that's not a success. Let's get back to the drawing board and pick that up later on. Like I've mentioned before in the video, the car had a nasty dent all the way from back in Japan, and even though the car has some parking dents all around the car, this big dent was really bothering me, and I thought I had to get the whole side repainted in order to get it fixed. But Dylan said, go to a company first that focuses in dent removal without a repaint. So I followed his advice, I went there, and this is how it looks. Now, I'm pretty amazed with the result, because as you can see, the whole dent has been removed. And I did not expect it, because the dent was pretty big, but These guys clearly are experts and they know what to do. So if there are some very serious dents on your car, just try it. Try to go to a company that specializes in this, because just look at this, man. Look at it. Here. I mean, the dent started somewhere here, all the way to here. And as you can see, there are only a few small dings still left, but if that's everything, come on. It cost me $200 to get the dent removed, but it was all worth it in my eyes. The dent removal company asked me to remove the interior panels beforehand, and with the panels out I figured it would be a good idea to put some anti-rust coating on the inside of the panels. This way I'll be sure that the car won't rust for the next few years. And after that I dropped the car off at the polisher. He was going to check if he could get the bonnet looking halfway decent, and he would fully polish the car and give it a ceramic coating. Now it is pretty hard to tell in the video, but it's amazing how much better the paint looked after I picked it up. He did however say that the bonnet was too far gone, so I will have to repaint it later on. With the car picked up from the polisher, it was time to focus once again on the exhaust, because as you guys all know, it was super loud, and I received a special part in the mail today, and that is an electronic exhaust valve. Now I'm going to put this valve in between the exhaust and hopefully it will solve my issue mostly. Now there's one thing though, it is a reverse polarity valve, so that means that if you have the positive wire on the outside and the negative wire on the inside, the valve will open. If you have the negative wire on the outside and the positive wire on the inside, the valve will close. But not many switches can reverse the polarity like that, so I need to find something, and luckily I did online. And here we have the switch set. Apparently it was paired with the valve, but you could order them separately. So here we have the connector that connects to the valve. Here we have the box that reverses the polarity, and here we have the feed. Now actually I'm not gonna put it like this in the car because that's yeah, pretty haggard, but let's see if it works. I got the valve hooked up to the box, which in turn is hooked up to the cigarette plug. So let's test out if it works. It works in increments, which is great. So my theory is, if I close the valve almost all the way down, so something like this, the sound will be slightly less and I can still drive the car, because naturally if I close it all the way like this, there's no flow anymore and the car will stall. But with the valve slightly open like this, hopefully the car will still run. It will be slightly slower, but the noise will be a lot less. So let's see what happens. I originally thought it would be best to install the valve between the header and the exhaust, but Menno had a different idea. He took the entire valve apart and cut my exhaust in half to place the valve just behind the two high flow silencers. So with a lot of welding and fabricating, I finally got a car with an exhaust valve. Now the only thing that's left for me is to hook it up. I installed it in such a way that I first need to press the switch before I can actually rotate the valve. This way I won't actually open up the exhaust right next to a Cup car. Anyway, let's test out the result with the valve open and closed. One of the final things that had to be done is the clear coat that was peeling from the bonnet. As I discussed earlier with my polisher, he said it would be better to respray the bonnet completely. So I stripped the bonnet and dropped it off at the paint shop. Due to the pandemic, the paint shop was not as busy as usual, so I got the bonnet back within 2 days, which was a lot earlier than I expected. The shop did warn me that I would most likely get some color difference, especially since this is a pearlescent color, but I took that for granted as it would still look better than the current paint job. In the end, it doesn't have that much of a color difference, but the color shift does not match up with the color shift of the rest of the car. So it's green when the car is blue and blue when the car is green. It doesn't really bother me that much, as the only other other alternative is a full respray. With the bonnet painted, it's time for some finishing touches. The first thing I'm going to do is put some decals back on. That's of course because the whole car had been polished. All the original decals are gone, but luckily I got some replicas, and I think the car looks a whole lot better with original decals on. So let's do that. Next up, I wanted to add something fun, and that's going to be this decal. This is a decal from a Japanese ad campaign, and the main goal of this campaign was to encourage Japanese people to drive slowly. And since this car is rather slow, I figured it would be quite fitting. Now, even though Japanese is not the primary language here in Holland, I do hope that the snail icon gives people behind me the idea that I'm not going to be able to blow the doors off at the traffic lights. And that was the final piece in the puzzle. So let's get Michael, let's get him behind the wheel, and let's make some rolling shots. Alright, conclusion time. Now, it might come as a total shock to you guys, but I'm actually going to post this car for sale. The reason why is pretty simple. If I manage to sell this car, that means I have space for another car. That means I can buy another one and start another project. And that means that I can make another video. It's just as simple as that. Now, I thought it would be fun to do the same thing that you see at all the shows, for example on Discovery, and that's tally everything up, see how much the car cost me, and then show you guys my sale price and show you guys the massive profits I'm about to make. So in total, including the purchase of the car, the import, and everything I've done to it so far, the car cost me 3,840 euros. And I'm going to post it for sale because I'm such a quick and cunning businessman for 2,900 euros. So that means that if I'm selling this for my asking price, I'm going to lose 940 euros. Now, why am I doing this? Well, first up, I just hope that the car goes to a new nice place with someone who really likes the car, and you know, the car made me smile, and I hope that the next owner will be very happy with it as well. And secondly, if I post it for sale for that price, then I put it smack dab in the middle of the prices of a Toyota Aygo, a Peugeot 106 or a Citroën C1, which are some very popular cars here in Holland, and size-wise they're pretty similar to this car, so it could be some competition for someone who's interested in a car like that but wants something a bit more exclusive. Or, and that's actually the buyer I'm kind of hoping for, someone who has a pretty cool JDM car like a Skyline for example, or Supra, is looking for a second car that's slightly more fuel efficient and wants to have something special in JDM. So hopefully someone like that is going to buy the car, or you know, a Honda fan for example. But yeah, I'm not sure if the car is going to sell real quickly. I kind of think it isn't, but I'm hoping it is. And yeah, I will update you guys on when the car is actually sold. So yeah, that's it for today. Now, I know that some of you guys are wondering why it took me so long to upload this video, because the last video was actually from last year. There were a lot of things going on, and I might tell you guys, but I'm not going to tell you guys in this episode. So if you guys want that, I'm probably going to tell at the end of this next video I'm going to make. So yeah, that's it for today. I hope you guys liked it. Leave a like if you did, and hit the subscribe button if you want to see more videos like this, because obviously there are still videos coming. And then hopefully I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!